Tony, JMU obviously has a very prolific offense. What did you think of your team's work at the defensive end, particularly after losing Reese so early in the game?
Obviously we were concerned, and I sure hope Reese is okay. I think we emptied our tank defensively, and maybe that's why we're struggling at the line. But both teams played incredibly hard, and I want to credit Mark and his ball club because they're very good. They've added, I think they've improved from last year, as I think we have, and they play hard. And I think the reason why I think they're good is because they can play a couple different styles. Obviously, they lead in the country in scoring, but we had to get it to that kind of game, and especially with Reese being out. And so I thought our guys slid well on the ball. Kihei gave everything he had, and I had to, ride him, for how many minutes? I gave him I thought that's more than I thought, 1 minute and 4 seconds. I thought I only gave him like 28 seconds, but he got 1 minute and 4. So I actually had plenty of rest. I thought sure, he missed some free throws, and I know he made some mistakes, but you could just see him, how tough-minded he was. And then you saw, I thought, again, Ryan Dunn defensively, his length was real. He was sliding, and he made guys work. But everyone, for the most part, that played, especially in that second half, had to just grit it out, get down, because they run so much stuff where they're slipping screens, setting screens, they're on the move, and they can get it going at any time. And it was just one of those hard-fought games that I would call beautiful.
Tony, a year ago at their place, similarly tough game.
Yep.
You guys weren't able to pull it out down the stretch. How much of the playmaking at the end tonight, you mentioned Clark and Gardner, Dunn's play, is just being an older team and maybe learning from some of the experiences?
I mean, our ears weren't ringing from their crowd this time. Actually, on the handshake line, I told a couple of our players, I said, that atmosphere last year at your place was unbelievable, and smiled. But I said, you guys are a good team. But I think our crowd really got into it. That energized us. And, of course, last year that was earlier. We were newer, and, I thought Jaden Gardner really slid his feet well. Ben, we got offensive rebounded on in the first half. But, again, they made some, they had some turnovers and probably made some errors just like we did that helped us out. But it was, there was more defensive composure and poise. I think that team settled in that I played at the end, and we just went with it and made enough plays offensively despite missing the free throws. That was just kind of last man standing and who could come up with enough stops and squeak out enough points.
What about this year's game presented a different challenge than maybe what you saw last year at JMU?
Yeah, I mean, we both have the majority of our teams back, and we both have added, some quality pieces, and you can see that. And, I think similar. I mean, we both kind of still play similar. I think, again, both of us are a notch better. So it's just going to, I was obviously when Reese went out, I wasn't sure how hard Reese could go from our Florida State game, and he's been so important for us, he and Kihei. So for us to gut that out against a team like JMU without Reese and then giving all those other guys opportunities was, a challenge. But so that was the challenge in the game. All right, we haven't played without Reese all year. Now we're going to have to put some different guys in there and play a lot of minutes. But, again, they put pressure on you in transition. They get down the floor fast. They can shoot the three. They get on the offensive glass. They drive hard, plus there's a lot of moving parts. So, as I said, Mark does a really good job. I'm really impressed with him as a coach. And, I hope they have a real strong year because they look like they have the makings to have a heck of a team.
Coach, you guys were, I think, 5 for 21 from 3 today. I think 5 for 19 against FSU. To what extent is that Reese not being on the floor, being able to get downhill and create space, and how much of that is just the ball bouncing out?
Perhaps both. Of course, when you have guys that can touch the paint, it sucks people in and you can get some rhythm shots. But when you go, when the games are real physical, defensively, Florida State plays a different kind of defense, but obviously physical, and you're working. Sometimes that happens. And offense, shooting can kind of come and go. You work to get quality looks, but you can't always count on it. You want to, I mean, that's the free throwing we got to just keep working on. We've shot the free throw, I think, pretty well this year, percentage-wise, 72, gotten to the line quite a bit, but that was tough to see some of those go out, but we still found a way. But yes, I think the shooting thing with Reese helps with that, but sometimes it's just the physicality of the game and how, are there a lot of rhythm or open shots, and there weren't quite as many in this game.
Coach, you mentioned Ryan Dunn's defense. He had the baseline drive
was
there at the
huge,
end.
yep.
What did you think about his assertiveness in that
Yeah,
particular spot?
I mean, he ripped baseline, went, and again, as I said, his length is real. And that was a heck of a play. He hung in the air and finished it. And, you know, again, those are what opportunities for, you know, a young man like that and Isaac McNeely to be in an intense game like that as first years. You know, that's those are two of the oldest teams. You know, you had two of the oldest teams from what I understand statistically, or whatever. So for those two young guys to be in those settings and hold their own was really good for them.
I was going to ask you about Dunn. He was hanging out there in the corner anticipating that shot. What does it say about him as a freshman to be able to step into that moment?
Yeah, I think, you know, like we just said, his last game he made some big plays defensively. And, yeah, that, again, when you add that drive, he made some big free throws against Florida State for us. So just growing up and getting those experiences and, you know, you just like that versatility when a guy is, you know, he's a legit, I think he's close to 6'8", and, you know, probably a 7-foot wingspan, and just seeing him get more comfortable in those spots. You know, you see young guys, they sometimes feel a little uncomfortable, and game pressure is real, and physicality and intensity, but see those guys hold in there, and I think Kihei did a good job managing it for them, handling the ball, keeping it in his hands, and we got some physical plays from Jaden and Ben down the stretch, so, but those guys were in the right place at the right time, and that was a huge play.
Yeah, Tony, back here, just real quick, out of the game, Chase Coleman always seems like a guy that's pretty heavily involved in the huddles, even, you know, if he's not playing in the game. Just kind of how has he kind of grown into that role as kind of like a player coach for you guys?
For sure. I value his opinion. I mean, I'll sometimes ask him during a timeout, hey, what do you see? And I'll hear him saying things, and he talks to coaches. You know, he's good. He's going to be a heck of a coach, and he has a contagious spirit as far as his enthusiasm. And, you know, you should see him in practice, how hard he practices. And he's a good player, too. He's really quick and challenges our team. But I just love, you know, what he brings. And, you know, all the good teams have guys like that. They're just willing to give of themselves. And, yeah, of course he'd want to play, and everybody wants to play. But he just he's out there seeing, talking, helping guys. And, you know, that's when your peers are doing that, and he has the ears and the respect of our players. That's really important. So I can't say enough positive things about him. And, you know, he's valuable in a lot of ways.
Yeah, Tony, it seemed like even without Reese, you guys were able to move the basketball pretty well. Kihei had that pass to Dunn on the dunk, and Tane had a pass to Shedrick on a dunk. Are you happy with the way you guys are moving the ball at this point in the season?
Yeah, I think so. You know, you look at assist to turnovers. I thought the game, the ball stuck a little bit at times. I think we were trying to exploit some mismatches, and again, we called a couple actions. We just needed to play and get that ball moving, and when we did that, good things happened, and you know, that was an electric play. If you're talking about the one, the dunk that Ryan had, but or maybe the last. Are you talking about the last play when he drove baseline or the dunk? Yeah, for sure. No, you know, our guys, they're all unselfish. They really are. We don't have greedy guys. You want them to be assertive. Sometimes I want Ben to take that rhythm three that everybody was yelling him to take in this game, and you know, Isaac. But they will share the ball, and this is an us or a we team if I've ever had one. Meaning, you know, some teams you got your big 2 or 3. Of course, there's talented guys, but they're a we team. They need each other, the way they have to defend and the way they have to play on both ends to be, you know, as good as they possibly can. And I think they're understanding that more and more.
Tony, apologies if you addressed this in your opening remarks. I was a little bit later. But have you had a chance to evaluate Reese's status, and what's kind of the plan going forward, like over the next 11 days before you play Houston? It just feels like a timely break.
I talked about that the whole press conference, so I don't have anything. No. I haven't. I haven't even checked with Ethan. They just said, you know, after I don't know if he extended or I don't even know what happened, but it was in that transition play. And it was a hamstring or that area. You know, it's funny, he rolled his ankle against Michigan, and that was a problem, but he was having, you know, after that, I don't know if he favored it, but he was having some trouble with I don't know if it was an adductor or hamstring, but I just was told after the first media timeout that was it. The docs looked at him, Dr. Duduk looked at him and said, probably going to have to hold him, so I'll find out more. And, you know, now we don't play until 10 days, you said, so the 17th, so we'll get him evaluated, treatment, and hopefully it'll heal up, and a lot of guys can heal up now.
JMU is a team that, likes to play faster. And when you play these kind of faster-paced teams, what are kind of keys to, keep the game slower and keep it how, you like to coach it?
Yeah, I think you have to decide, you have to can you conversion defense? Can you get your defense set? Because if you're playing behind, obviously if you can score, that helps. They take it out. But the ability to really convert defensively and have them play against a set defense and then go to work. And if you can't get that done, then, we've played against some terrific transition teams, Carolina in my years here, but even this year, teams that want to just go. And it's sort of a mindset and, a willingness to, get back. And the couple times we fell asleep at the switch, boom, layup. And it was, there's one, Ben was underneath and they got a layup. And, that was disappointing. But we know we have to establish that. And we're usually in those kind of games where teams like to fly down the court and they get down quick. And for the most part, I think we did a pretty good job.